This customer thinks that their car is possessed and it's going to cost some serious money to fix it. Let's check out this Malibu. Let's get started. This is a 2009 Chevy Malibu, and we're going to find out today why the customer thought it was possessed and how it's going to cost a lot of money. And also, we found something else wrong that wasn't even the complaint, that can't leave without being fixed. Let's take a look around this Malibu. So right off the bat, we can see in the front something that we have seen in the early 90s, Mrs. Wizard.
Oh yeah, that clear coat is stripping away.
Seemed like white was the worst color too.
It was.
Has some fogged up headlamps, but the customer is more concerned about getting it driving again. When we go down the side, it doesn't look so bad. The paint's decent, the wheels look nice. It's too bad about the front hood area being so bad on the paint. We come around to the back, you can see there's a Malibu LTZ. It does have some fading on the roof and the trunk lid. But on the sides, it looks fairly decent. Let's go ahead and hop under the hood. So under the hood, we have the Ecotec 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine, and they're a pretty decent engine. We don't have any issues or complaints under the hood really. It's running fine, it's driving fine as far as that's concerned, but you can see there's a lot of room around the engine to work on it if you need to work on it. As opposed to a V6 or something, it may not have as much power, but I would actually prefer a 4-cylinder because I have to fix it myself, and it just looks so much easier to do, to work on. So what is making this car seem like it's possessed? The customer states as they're driving along, all of a sudden the steering will get really hard to turn. Like almost so they don't have enough muscle to make it turn. And also when it's acting up, they'll turn off the car, and while it's having these issues, the car won't start. And then other times they go out to the car, it starts fine, steers fine. It's got a mind of its own. They're just like, this thing is possessed. I don't know what's going on with this thing. So let's let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around the interior. You're going to start to get an idea of what we're dealing with.
There we got it, 174,963 miles. And this is going to present very well today, as if, of course, it fades away as we close that door. But gauge closers are simple, okay, not a lot going on there. Look at our dash, okay, it's looking great. Unfortunately, there's that view of the hood up there, so sorry. Oh, looks like we've got a baker's box. Looks like they've got a Bluetooth thing in there. I call this the baker's box because whatever you put in there in the sun is going to get baked. But I like the little wood trim accents that kind of wrap all the way around the door, all the way up here by our HVAC system. And yes, it does smell quite nice in here with that air freshener. Very classic Chevy controls there, nothing fancy. It's just very simple utilitarian. We do see some wear and tear on the gear selector. That leather is starting to show some age. I wish I could show you the seat, but the knee bolster for the driver's side is resting on it, and oh, if we look in there, there's their fortune of coins in there. Very nice. But it does have a two-tone, kind of a coffee and a mocha version, I guess. I'm not sure, but looking good. Same thing on that door card as well. That accent also wrap around on our back door, back seats as well, which are all in very nice shape. Love that design back there. Definitely different than just solid gray, black, and gray that we have so much of the 2020 cars. Headliner's in good shape as well. And as we into that steering wheel, yes, you can see that it does have a protector on it, and not sure what's going on underneath it, but we're not going to find out because the customer put it there, and that's where it's going to stay. But if you look behind that steering wheel, yikes, that's what's going on underneath there. So, Wizard said this is kind of a clue as to what's going on with this car. Maybe we should talk to the Wizard and see what all he has found wrong and why this car seems possessed.
So we checked into this thing and we thought maybe it's low on power steering fluid or something's wrong with the power steering pump. The customers mentioned it gets really difficult to steer, almost to the point where they don't...
Well, Wizard, maybe the building's getting possessed.
Yeah, just like lights are flickering. Maybe this thing is possessed. I hope not.
No, I bet it's the wind we have today.
Okay, well hopefully we don't lose power. The customer states that they almost don't have enough strength to overpower the steering wheel. It's so difficult to turn, and that can be very dangerous. And that'll lead into the other issues we're going to talk about today, but let's go ahead and check the power steering fluid on it. Well, I only see an AC compressor and an alternator, Mrs. Wizard.
Yeah, that's kind of what you would expect to see on this car.
What kind of Chevrolet doesn't have a power steering pump?
The kind that has fully electric power steering?
Yes, that is correct. There is no power steering pump, no reservoir, no fluid, just like the Lexus or the Toyota vehicles we've looked at in the past. This Malibu 2009 Chevrolet has full electric power steering. It has no pumps, no fluids, no hoses, no nothing. Let's go look under the dash. That's right. To find out what's going on with the power steering, we're going underneath the dash, because there lies our power steering. It's not even in the engine bay at all. None of it. It's all under the dash. Let's take a look. So as we go under the dash and underneath, you can see the steering column is this aluminum colored housing. There's actually an electric motor that's attached to it. Kind of a worm gear situation going on. And when you turn the wheel, the electric motor spins with it to give you your power steering. And we're having issues inside of that unit. That is what is bad. Now here's a picture of what the entire unit looks like. You can see it has an electric motor, a little gearbox, and several things going on. It's a complete unit that the steering column is part of. Now there is a steering rack that's in the engine bay, but that does not provide you power steering. The unit that I just showed you provides the power in the name power steering. We pulled up some codes. We found there's some internal failures and things going on inside of that unit. So we'll need that entire unit replaced to take care of the issues. Now, the customer mentioned that occasionally when it's acting up really bad, they'll turn the car off and it won't start. And whatever's going on inside of that unit is so bad that it won't allow you to start the vehicle because it senses there's actual danger. It doesn't want you to go driving down the road and you don't have power steering and then something goes wrong and you crash. So it's like, all right, bro, you just don't get to drive. And other times they'll disconnect the battery, reconnect it, and it'll be good for a day or two. And then it'll, out of the blue, just act up. They have no power steering and they're afraid to turn it off because they know once they do, it may not start again. And they're really, really upset. They're like, this thing is possessed. I'm done. We need to find out what's wrong. So this thing did seem like it was possessed. It was so intermittent. At random times, it would just say, okay, you don't have any more power steering now. And if you shut off the car, I won't allow you to start it again. That really is a very annoying issue. But Junior Mint brought this in, and I really applaud him. He's keen on checking other things out. He said, Wizard, when I drove this in, there's some serious clunking going on in the front end. So I'll kind of go back and forth this car a couple of times and let you guys hear it. Then we're going to get it on the lift and show you what we found. And it's an issue that's bad enough, they really shouldn't be driving it anymore until it's fixed. Did you guys hear that? When I was backing up and hit the brake, something really loose underneath. It's like clunk. It's really loud in here especially. Let's get it on the lift and see what's going on with that.
Oh, look, the lift has a beard.
Oh, there you guys are. We'll first take a look, quick inspection down the whole car. Then we're going to dive in, kind of lift the front end up with our little jack and see where is this clunking coming from. So you see our fans are intact. I don't see any coolant leaks or anything going on. I do see a tiny bit of seepage here at the starter, but it's really not dripping very bad. It's not worth a bunch of money to fix it. It'd be something we monitor and keep an eye on it. So I know starters don't leak oil, but the things they're attached to can, like rear main seals and things. I don't think that's what this is. It could be a valve cover gasket or something, but it's really just, it's not worth a big expenditure at this point. The customer's mainly focused. They're not really interested in dumping tons of money into this car. They just want their power steering back. And we also need to find out what that clunk is. Our oil pan doesn't have any leaks. Brakes are about 60% remaining. Our CV boots look okay. I don't see anything loose with the tie rod end. Sway bar link is good. Struts are not blown out. Brakes are still 60% remaining. CV boots are good, so nothing serious going on as far as wear items there. We still need to find the clunk, but let's check the rest of the car out first. Our exhaust is still intact, and luckily with this catalytic converter here, it's up inside the engine bay, which makes it hard for tweakers to get in there and cut it off. There is a secondary one though here. Our exhaust goes all the way back to a sideways muffler. Let's check our shocks back here are not blown. Sway bar link is good. Brakes are about 30% remaining, but they're getting close. Same thing with the brakes here. Sway bar link is good. Shocks are not blown. So you're at 30% brake pad life, and most people would think, well, just go ahead and replace them. But it depends on how much you drive it. If you drive it 2 times a month, it may go for a long time. Also, if you only have this much money you can spend, you may have to wait a little longer to get the brake pads done. They're not unsafe at this point. They're still usable, so 30% remaining. Now let's get this jack onto the front of the car. Let's figure out what is this clunking noise that you guys heard. Okay, you guys ready? Let's get this front end up in the air. So now we got this up in the air with our handy dandy bin pack trolley jack. Nice little rhyme there. Let's look in this area right here. This is where our ball joint is on the lower control arm. Let's see what we see here. Oh my goodness, guys. Let's check the driver's side. Even worse. And on these you can't replace just the ball joint. It's kind of a swedge foot and there's hardly any material there. So they get a whole new control arm. Let's get this thing back on the ground. 4-post lifts are very nice because you can just drive on, and if you have like center drive shaft or exhaust work or things like that, an oil pan, they're great. But you really need a 2-post lift if you're going to need the weight of the vehicle off the tires. And luckily we have a trolley jack on this one, this bin pack trolley jack, and it works great. But I really would want to use a 2-post lift to do any suspension work on this. And if they approve the repairs, we'll move it to a 2-post and get it done there. So now we know what it's going to take to do the exorcism on this possessed Malibu. It needs that power steering unit that's underneath the dash. Gone are the days where you just put a power steering pump or a hose or a belt or something on it when you lose power steering or add some fluid. We now have full electric power steering on most vehicles, and when it fails, especially when it's got electronics failures and things that are definitely a safety hazard, we replace the whole unit. So we'll get that replaced. It'll solve their starting problems because it wasn't allowing it to start because it was unsafe. They have no power steering. So it'll start fine again every time. It'll have power steering again. But you just saw the ball joints we looked at. How many of you have seen driving down the road on the highway, somebody on the side of the road with their tire off in the ditch, the whole wheel, the suspension came apart? Major damage can happen, and worse than that, someone can really get hurt. I've been through this scenario with customers in the past. They say, I didn't bring it here for that. That's correct. But it also can't leave here like that because you literally could either be killed yourself or you could kill somebody else. This is not one of those scenarios you put the blinders on and say, I didn't see nothing, just move it, get it out. I don't have the money for that. You're going to have to find the money for it. It's likely they knew the clunking was going on. They just didn't understand what it was and how dangerous it could be. Now we've got it in the air with this trolley jack. We can see exactly what's wrong, and it is extremely, and I want to underline that, extremely dangerous. If they choose not to do the ball joints, I will write on their ticket that a dangerous condition exists on this vehicle that could cause an accident. However, the customer refused to fix it. So if they ever do wreck, we have that in writing that they refuse to fix it. I never thought running a shop as a kid, it's like, oh, it'd be so cool if I could run a shop someday. I never thought that it would be such a CYA, cover your rear end, constantly. The legal things involved. If you don't, you could get into some serious trouble in today's world. So all of these combined is going to be over $1,000. Is it worth it? Here's a picture of one for sale that's in better condition than this one for $3,700. In this current condition, with the paint the way it is, even if it was running and driving fine, it might be worth $2,500, maybe $3,000 tops. And you're going to put over $1,000 into the repairs. it's probably still worth it. But if it was going to be $2,500 or more to fix this car, you may have to evaluate, is it better to spend the money on a newer vehicle? And this one's time might be up. With repairs costing as much as they do today, and trust me, everything that we buy for the shop costs double what it did 2 or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. Everything costs more. I'll give you one instance before I finish my story. I used to be able to buy R134 refrigerant for $90 a bottle, a 30-pound bottle. It now costs me $400. I can't eat that. You guys wouldn't either. Everything is costing more. We all know that. I don't need to beat that drum. But if you're driving a car that's only worth $2,000 or $3,000, in today's world, it doesn't take much to mechanically total your vehicle. So you really need to kind of balance that when you get an estimate that could be $2,000 or $3,000 or more on a car like this. Is it worth it? You have to decide that as the owner. But in this current state that this car is in, with the repairs being a little over $1,000, yes, it is worth it. It's a good driving car. It'll get it back on the road again. Now, if you're mechanically inclined and you can do your own repairs, you could buy something like this for $500 or $1,000 or something like that that needs the power steering repaired and a few small repairs. You can actually come out ahead. But you have to be really careful in those situations that once you get the car in your possession and you do an inspection, which we'll do a video on that someday in the future, you could be really very much over your head. But definitely wanted to do a video for you guys today, how a possessed vehicle is now in the realm of being exercised. And we found more than what was bargained for, as far as it's going to cost more than we thought, because the ball joints are literally about to fall apart. So it's kind of sad, but it is what it is. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this Malibu or that Audi TT or any other car in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. A lot of the tools we use in the shop are for sale there, and if you purchase anything, we get a small cut, and we really appreciate that. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's many more videos sitting in the shop for you guys to come. Thanks for watching.